we will go ahead and spotlight for everyone. So yes, if there's a pose that just doesn't work for your body, by all means, please feel free to substitute. So we have deep core strengthening and hips. And just see if anyone else has any requests before I move back from the device here. So if you have anything nearby, maybe a chair, maybe a wall that can help you with balance, the invitation is to pull that closer. So you may want to hold a chair back. Let's start out standing, and we'll give ourselves a little shift, side to side. And let me make sure we are spotlighting this for the recording. No, we are spotlighted, so we should be good. Okay, so we're starting standing, and we're giving ourselves these little shifts side to side. The eyes can be open, and just notice where the gaze is going. Or do we happen to be looking down at the feet? And if that's the case, just go ahead and roll the gaze up. You can bring it out to the horizon, out in the distance. Gradually slide the feet in a little closer, just noticing how the hips feel with this amount of movement. Now, as we step in, let the heels alternately shift and the knees may be tipping in. You might be feeling a little stretch in the toes, saying hello, checking in. And then let's step those feet in, maybe all the way together, and start to find a little bit of a forward and back rock. This can be very subtle. Let the toes rise. Rocking forward, let the heels rise, or just get a little bit lighter. And then find that shift, little toe to little toe sides of the feet. So I'm talking with my fingers here. I'm pointing my fingers out to the side as the weight shifts. You're welcome to do that or not. And you might find if the balance is feeling particularly precarious, you can always hold something, or maybe hands on the hips can help. Let's step those feet a little bit wider. Please feel free to play with the distance. And the invitation, again, is to just notice where the head goes. The head might be tipping down to the floor. We'll just remind ourselves to lift the gaze out to the horizon. So let's pick a side. So you might just tap one side. And let's think about drawing a figure 8 on the floor with the foot. It really doesn't matter what that figure 8 looks like. It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll notice the weight shifting to that other leg. And then just step the foot down. And we might just shift a little side to side. And try that figure 8 with the second foot. And just see how it goes. Maybe the balance is a little bit different on this side when we have starts and stops. Maybe it's feeling a little more fluid from the get-go. And then let's move back and forth through center. Let's bring a little more mobility into the ankle. You can slide one foot out or take it back, whichever is easier. Let the ankle circle, but we're also bringing movement into the hip, into both knees. Go the other way, circle in that second direction. Step the foot down, and we might find that little shift side to side. And again, where's that gaze going? Gaze up instead of towards the floor. Other foot out to the side, or stepping the foot back. Looking for those rotations through the ankle. Let's go the other way, circle second direction. Just notice how it feels through the foot, the knee, the hip. We'll bring it back to center. Step those feet in a little closer together. We may now bend the knees deeper. Hands could be on the thighs. They might be on the knees, maybe hips. And we're circling the knees. Let the toes rise, fan, and fall. And go the other way, circling second direction. Let's bring ourselves back up, shifting hips side to side. And consider circling the hips now all the way around. We might put more bend in the knees as we circle. We might not. Go the other way, circle, second direction. And consider a figure eight. So the arms, the shoulders might be finding some fluid movement. Let's reverse, circle in the second direction. Let's slide those feet back in. And if there was a side when we tried out the figure eights that had a little bit more of a balance challenge, let's start on that side. Let's begin to draw figure eights on the floor again, but maybe we're lifting that leg up, and this might be where we want to hold on to something as we lift that foot completely off the ground, but maybe we're touching it down. We're drawing those figure eights in the air, the knees turning out, the knees turning in. Where's the gaze? Where are the arms? On a wall, on a chair, on the hips. Maybe the arms are moving. Let's bring that foot back down. Give yourself a little shift side to side. Check your breath. When you feel ready, second side. So we're starting drawing some eights on the floor. The leg may rise, circling, turning the knee in, knee out. The leg may go higher, lower. Can we draw some big loops for that eight in the back? Let's bring it back to center. Start to widen the feet, shifting side to side. The shoulders may roll. The head may find a little bit of movement. So how are the knees feeling? Let's pivot one knee out, straighten the leg, same knee, stick to that side. So we're turning the foot out, bending the knee, pivoting the toes in. What are the arms doing? Maybe the arms are moving along for the ride. There might be a little rotation through the torso. Let's bring it through center. Moving side to side. We're thinking about heading in the other direction. We may bend the knee, pivot the toes in. Bend the knee, pivot the toes in. Finding breath in body. Let yourself find the side to side movement, and we may gradually go lower, 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 bringing ourselves down to the ground. So as we find the floor, consider our cross-legged seat, and we might find those little shifts, little rocks still on the ground. Checking in with the hips. The head may turn side to side. What feels best in your body in this moment? The hands might start to find their way down to the floor. We may be moving the hands forward. Feel free to find a prop, a block if you prefer. We might just keep going with the movement, little shifts side to side. You may prefer to find stillness. Beginning to move the hands back in. As we keep shifting side to side, whichever leg is easiest, open it out to the side. So as we expand that leg out to the side, we might still find a little bit of movement. A little shift over the long leg, back towards center. A little shift over the long leg. Maybe we're moving forward. We might be feeling ready to go a little bit deeper. Let's bring those hands back up and in, sliding the long leg in, let the other leg become the long leg. So we might be finding those little shifts. They don't have to be super deep out to the side. It might just be a little towards the long leg, back to center. Maybe circling feels a little better. So maybe the side's feeling a little tighter or less tight. We might start to find a forward fold, a forward bend, tipping in. Let's bring it back up through center. Folding the long leg in, let this leg now become the top leg or the front leg, whichever feels best in your body. And we might lumber or glide down into that forward fold. Please feel free to support the brow on a block, maybe all the way down to the ground. We'll gradually, slowly, slowly make our way all the way back up. And as we Find that seat. Let's turn, I'm going to mirror. Let's turn the right knee towards the right and we'll start to pivot towards the right with the torso. Now we may be bending that left knee. And we might just find those little shifts side to side, just checking in, see how this feels in the side body. How does it feel in the hip? We'll move ourselves back to center, bending the other knee, second knee. So right leg could be long or we're bending the right knee out to the right. Letting ourselves gradually find our way lower if that feels right in the body, as we find a little bit of rotation, a little bit of twist. So let's bring it back to center. Cross one ankle in front of the other, and we're finding that rock, that hip shift side to side. Know that you can use props if you like. We might take our arms up in the air. We may rock back, plant the feet, and rise up to stand. Let's bring it back down. So we're playing with that balance. You can always put a block, a prop underneath your seat, carefully coming down, trading the cross of the legs. So shifting side to side. When you feel ready, we may rock back, press down into the feet, and the arms may rise. So let's gradually bring it back down to the ground. Give ourselves a little rock, side to side, and we'll try this just slightly differently. So let's say left leg, let that left leg move out towards the left. We might fold that left leg in and place the right foot in front of that left shin. So just a possibility. We might tip down. It's a little easier to come to stand if we press down with the right foot. Use the hands as needed. Maybe we don't like the positioning of the right foot. Maybe we want to rock back, move that right foot a little further forward, and then rise up. So we have a little more freedom of movement with that back leg now. So we might navigate the toes back. We might be bending the knee, landing on the shin, coming back down to our seat. And perhaps we switch sides right away. So right leg, just to know which side we're going to, we might fold it in and have that left foot in front. We might shift a little forward. We might shift a little back. Find the positioning that you prefer with that left foot. Press down through the left foot and we'll rise up to stand. So we have that right leg now behind the left. You can always come down with a cross like we did originally, or reaching that leg back. You can tuck the toes, you can point the foot, and we're slowly coming back down, finding that cross-legged seat. So we'll come to stand and we'll hold it this next time. Did you have a preference? Is there a side you want to explore a little more? Maybe the balance was a little trickier in one version versus the other, or maybe you just really liked the flow of one side. So give it a try. Come back to stand. Let's spin the palms forward. Inhale, circle the arms up. And as we exhale, finding our forward fold. So let the head be heavy. Neck is long. Stretching the jaw long and wide. Giving the hips a little shift, side to side. Put a little bend in the knees. Hug the belly muscles in. And we'll gradually, slowly roll up to stand. So let's take a moment and circle the wrists. Reversing direction, circle the wrists in the second direction. Let's expand the left arm out to the left. Roll the shoulder back and then roll the shoulder forward. We'll roll the shoulder back, chin to the left, roll the shoulder forward. Let's move the shoulder back, chin forward, sweep that left arm overhead and point the left palm out to the left. We'll hold on to the wrist or the forearm with the right hand, tuck the ribs, finding a side bend, a lean over to the right. And we'll gradually rise up to stand. Let the arms come all the way down. Roll out the shoulders. Let's go the other way, second direction. So expanding right arm out to the right. Let's roll the shoulder back. Roll the shoulder forward. Take it back. Take it forward. Roll the shoulder back, start to circle the arm up, spin the right palm to face the right. Hold on to that wrist. Add some length, tuck the ribs back. Let's look over to the left, look over to one side. Inhale, bring it back up to center. Let the arms release down, and we may bring hands onto the hips, rolling the shoulders back. We might weave the fingers together and extend the arms behind the back. Releasing the bind. Roll out anything that needs it. Let's spin palms forward, and again, circle the arms high. Put a little bend in the knees, and as we exhale, tipping into a forward fold. Let the head very gently nod, and you are welcome to have your hands on props, blocks, or a chair seat. And we may tip, lean, shift the hips a little bit, side to side. And let's start to rise halfway up. Walking the hands over to the right. We'll put some bend into the right knee. Roll the left hip back. And then we'll bring it back to center. Look up, find a little bit of length. Walking the hands, maybe the blocks, over to second side. Perhaps bending left knee, rolling right hip back. And let's bring it back through center. Giving the head a little nod. Inhale halfway up. Let's rock back on the heels. Pivot the toes out. Let the heels rise up, beginning to find a squat. Now, if your heels are not coming down to touch the floor, and they won't for a lot of us, feel free to put something underneath them. Roll up a towel, your mat, a blanket, or even sit on one of your blocks. So we might find balance with hands on the blocks or palms together in front of the chest. We may weave the fingers together and start to press the palms up and over to the right. Consider coming up to stand with that side bend to the right. Bringing ourselves back down, find our squat. Reverse the weave of the fingers so the second thumb is on top. And we'll bring it up and over to the left, second side. Let's bring it back down through center. Weave the hands together, and we'll come straight up through center this time. Bringing the palms up and overhead. Releasing the hands down by the side. Heel toe, feet in towards one another. So if we're not yet at the top short edge of the mat, let's go ahead and pivot to that top short edge of the mat. Inhale, circle the arms high. And as we exhale, forward fold. So we can keep hands on blocks if you like, or fingertips on the ground, right foot forward, reaching that left leg back. And we may just find a little shift forward and back through that lunge. Head can nod. Hello, left inner thigh, front of the left hip. And then take your time. Let the hips come a little bit higher. So really stretching into those left toes quite a lot. And then navigate that left foot forward, looking out. Exhaling, chest to thighs. Let's inhale, rise halfway up. And we can keep left foot forward. Reach that right leg back. Finding that same low lunge. Perhaps with a little bit of motion, forward and back. Forward and back. And as you feel ready, let's navigate, bringing that right foot forward. And as we exhale, tipping all the way back in. Give the head a little stir. Consider bending the knees and lowering ourselves all the way down to our seat. Now, you might want a little cushioning if your floor is very hard. If your vertebrae tend to kind of protrude down into the floor, you may want to just give yourself a little additional extra padding. So let's check in and see where we're at with that back body. As we rest on the back, we might let the knees do a little rock side to side. Rock that right thigh into the chest. And perhaps we give the thigh just a little jostle. Maybe we send that left leg long, active left foot. So left toe tips point up to the ceiling. And then draw the left leg in and just try out reaching that right leg long. Maybe a little jostle. Make sure those right toe tips are not dialing out to the right. Point them up. Let's release the left foot. Step the right foot in and bring the arms overhead. Now we may hook the thumbs. Reach out through that right heel. Toe tips point up. Head centered. Reach out through the left heel. So zip up the inner legs like you have some industrial strength Velcro on those inner legs. And you have a mer person tail. At this point, let's notice the shoulders and the head. Head is on the floor, shoulders are on the floor, but where's the upper back? Can we draw that upper and middle back down? Can we draw the low back down? Can we lift the left heel just a centimeter or two, and then the right heel, and hold, hovering. And then exhale, release, give the legs a little rock. So we may have felt that tremendously in the core. Just in case your low back is very sensitive, let's try another approach. Let's bend both knees. Give the hips a little wiggle. And we might even weave the fingers together behind the head. The thumbs might hook into the base of the skull or come down the neck, and you can use them as a massage tool to release any tension in the neck. So let's take a moment and tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Or another way to think about that is hugging the low back down to the ground. And we should feel quite a bit of abdominal tone engagement here. And then let that low back arch. So we're creating a little bit of a hollow space or a bridge where you could even slide a hand between your low back and the ground. So let's curl the tailbone up. We're hugging the low back towards the floor. And then find that hollow in the low back. Now, ideally, this isn't causing any pain, any discomfort. Hug the belly muscles in, low back to the ground, and the shoulders may roll up and off the ground. Let the elbows open and slide the head in the hands. So you're enhancing the arch in the neck, but also the low back. Let's curl that tailbone up, low back to the ground. Come back down. And then this next time, let's move to the right. So we're going to add in a little rotation. Bring it back down. And let's move to the right again. Bring it back down. Let's move up through center one time. Flatten the low back towards the floor. Bring it back down. And then let's move it over to the left. And bring it down. And take it back to the left. And bring it down. Let's rock both knees back into the chest. Plant the left foot, reach that right leg up, press up through the heel, and then push it down to the ground. Reach up through that left leg. Push that left heel down. Find your mer person tail. Reach the arms overhead. Try drawing the low back to the ground, elevating that left heel, the right heel, and then take a mincing walk, a little tiny mincing walk, shifting the feet back and forth. But the thighs are pretty much super Velcroed together. Whew, when those core muscles, when the burn has hit its peak, go ahead, take a rest. Give yourself a moment, breathing, reaching one arm overhead, step the opposite foot in. Bring the second foot in, reach the other arm overhead. Give the hips a little rock side to side. Let's draw the thighs into the chest, roll the thighs over towards the right. The left hand, that's going to be your kickstand hand. You can put the hand on your side ribs, the hip. Try to land the elbow towards the floor. And we're just going to let that elbow rest there. So that arm is not going to do a lot of moving. Bring the knees through center and extend both legs up to the ceiling. The right arm reaches up and we're twisting to the left, trying to maybe reach the little toe side of the left foot. Bend the knees, bend the right arm, twisting back over to the right. So let's inhale, knees to center. Exhale, lift, twist to the left. Inhale, knees to center. And exhale, twist right. Inhale, knees to center. Exhale, lift, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, knees back to the right. Let's do one more round. Inhale, center. Exhale, lift, twist. So shoulders and head maybe coming off the ground. Bring the knees back to center, and this time let's land the feet. Give yourself a moment, and we'll try that on the second side. So we're taking the knees over to the left, and that right elbow, the right hand, that becomes your kickstand hand. So it's just going to stay there, wherever it lands comfortably. The knees move through center. We'll take this first one really slowly. We'll press up through the feet. We're reaching for the little toe side of that right foot, trying to lift the shoulders off the ground, especially that left shoulder, but right shoulder too. Bend the knees, twisting back over to the left. So we'll bring the knees to center. Exhale, lift, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Exhale, lift, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Exhale, lift, twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, knees left. One more round. Knees center. Exhale, lift, twist. Inhale, center. This time, let's take it back to the left. Maybe extend both arms. We might hold on to opposite wrists, opposite forearms. Let the knees rock back to center. Landing the feet. Level the hips. Let's bring the left ankle on top of the right thigh, and we might find a little figure 4 rock side to side. We may rock those thighs into the chest. We might even decide to go for a bind. We don't have to. It might be preferable just to use the muscular strength of the hips of the legs to hug the thighs in. But maybe we like to thread the left arm between the legs and weave the fingers behind the right thigh. We might choose to reach that right leg up towards the ceiling, pull the toes down towards the knee. Rebending the knee, releasing the right foot, extend the left leg, let the left foot land, let the right ankle land on top of left thigh. And we can keep it low. We don't have to come up. We might just rock side to side. Maybe we are hugging both thighs in towards the chest. And again, it could be hands-free. We might find it's a little different, hands-free, and we might stick with that. Maybe we do decide to go for that bind. Maybe we decide to hold on to forearms or wrists overhead. We might reach that left heel up towards the ceiling, pulling the toes down. Let's rebend the knee, release the left foot, press up through that right heel, and then let the foot come back to earth. Feet wide, knees tipping in. Let the breath flow. And at your own pace, let's rock to whichever side is easiest for you. And you might be coming up to hands and knees. You may want some padding, some cushioning for those knees. And we may just take a moment from hands and knees to press back through the right heel, through the left heel. And if it's being on our wrists that isn't our favorite, you can always come down onto the forearms. So please feel free to release onto each forearm, finding your way into a forearm plank position, creating a little bit of rounding in your back. And then knees may land, point through the feet, and whichever variation we're in with the arms, let's lower down to the belly and adjust those elbows under the shoulders or just a little forward of the shoulders. So we're lengthening that front body that we were contracting earlier. We might just spend a little time going through that shift side to side. But then let's press down into the elbows, and we may need to adjust the elbows back towards the hips a little bit, chin towards chest. Let the ribs start to hover. The pelvis may be coming up and off the floor. And releasing down. Walk the elbows forward, creating that length in the front body. Maybe those little glides side to side. And then again, let's press down into the forearms, chin to chest. There's a widening of the shoulder blades. We might even tuck the toes and lift the knees. Lifting back up into a forearm plank or into a forearm plank. Let yourself come back down, looking for that lengthening action. Let's release, plant the hands, heart rising, moving up into a cobra. And exhale, pressing the hips back towards the heels for a child's pose. So breathing through those shoulders, we might find a little shift side to side. And again, if down dog is not your favorite and you're definitely staying off those wrists, then alternatively, let's go ahead and weave those fingers together. Have the elbows on the floor under the shoulders, tuck the toes and let the hips rise so that we're moving up into a dolphin position. And we may send the left hip just a little further back and then shift sides, lengthening back through that right hip. And we can center ourselves, moving back towards center. Let's wiggle those feet a little bit further back, sliding forward, back into that forearm plank position. Chin maybe tucking towards chest. But for a little more fun, we might bend the left knee, bring that left knee towards the back of the left arm. We might draw circles in the air, step the foot back, right knee forward. We might draw a few circles and step the foot back. Consider walking the feet back in, so we're rising back up into that dolphin position. And perhaps we plant the right hand, shift weight to the right, plant the left hand, finding our way into down face dog. Fan the toes. We might find a little nod through the head. And we may be walking the hands back towards the toes, perhaps encircling the big toes, first 2 fingers and a thumb. The hips might find a little shift side to side. And let's put bend in the knees, forearms onto the thighs, let the hips sink. We'll take our time. Slowly rising up to stand. So from our standing position, let's step out wide stance so the toes are facing the long edge of the mat. Angle the right toes, I'm mirroring this orientation towards the short edge of the mat. And we'll let the arms open out to a T. Re-extend the leg, gather the arms in, fan those right toes. So just moving back and forth. And eventually let's land in that warrior 2 position, bringing the gaze over to the right. Releasing the left hand to the left hip, let that right arm come up and over. And we might even decide to grab hold of that right forearm with the left hand, drawing the arm, both arms back to the left, hugging that left thigh back. Let's rise up to center, straighten the leg for a moment. Now, if the feet feel like they're sliding, heel toe, that back foot in. Put a little bend into that front knee. Let's bring ourselves down into side angle. Forearm on the thigh. The top arm might come up alongside the ear. We may be looking down to the ground. Consider finding your block, if you're using one, placing it to the little toe side of that right foot and extending that right foot closer to straight. Left arm, top side arm may rise. Bending back into that front knee, perhaps taking the prop with you. Let's rise up, pivot the toes in. Second foot, left foot points out, and we might just bend and extend the leg. We might take the next bend as an opportunity to deposit the prop, fan the toes, opening out into that warrior 2 variation, looking over to the left. Right hand may land on right thigh, left arm might come up and overhead. We might flip the left palm to face up and circle the wrist to the forearm, drawing the arms further to the right, rolling left ribs back. Feel free to take a little break, extend the leg, and if it feels like the feet are sliding, maybe heel toe that back foot in. We'll rebend that front knee, left forearm to the thigh, maybe hand coming down to the block, looking for that side angle. Fan the left toes. And perhaps we're extending that front leg, taking that top arm up in the air. And this time, let's stay low, rebend the knee, cycle that top hand down and walk the hands back through to center. So we're finding a wide-legged forward bend, perhaps walking the heels of the hands back towards heels of the feet. We might create a little shift forward and back. Maybe giving the head a little nod. And walking the hands partway forward. Heel, toe, feet to hips distance. Put as much bend in the knees as you like, forearms to the thigh. Sink the hips. And slowly rising up to stand. As we find our way to stand, let's again set the gaze on something that won't move. Shift the weight into the left leg and invite that right knee high. We might give the leg a little boost, bringing that leg up to stand. Crown of the head high. We may start to open that right leg out to the right. Expanding left arm, it can help with balance. Let's bring that leg back to center. Scoop underneath the thigh, perhaps reaching out through the foot, and we might lose our balance and we'll just reset. So make sure you're using something inanimate. I will lose my balance too. Keeping crown of the head reaching high. Rebending. And perhaps we place the left hand on that right knee or the outer right thigh. Sliding right hand to the hip, starting to rotate, twisting to the right. And perhaps extend the right arm back behind. We might practice extending that right leg. Let's rebend, come back to center, shift out anything that needs it. As you feel ready, second side. We'll peel that left knee up, let the crown of the head rise. We may be holding on to the knee. Let the knee expand left, let the right arm reach right. Let's bring that knee back to center. We might scoop under the leg, press out through the heel, standing tall. Send that left hip down, crown of the head high. Perhaps rebending. Right hand, left knee. Press that knee back to the left hand into the knee as we rotate left. We might be extending that left arm back. We might hold underneath that left leg so we have room to practice extending that left leg as we keep dropping the hip down. Rebend the knee, bring it back to center, releasing, shifting it out. How do those hips feel about that? Please feel free to come back onto your back or to sit in a chair. Dropping weight down through the right foot or the left foot. Let the right leg rise, crossing right ankle on top of left thigh. And we might start to sit in a pretend chair and a real chair. We may take the arms out wide, drawing those right toes back towards right knee. Again, find that focal point, something that won't move. I will definitely lose my balance too. Placing our hands perhaps on our foot, on our knee. We can keep the arms wide. We can bring the hands to the heart and sit a little lower. We may rise back up, re-extend the leg, and release. So second side, as you feel ready, fanning those right toes, left knee rising, pull the toes up, finding that figure four cross. Maybe the arms open. We just challenge the balance, play with that balance a little bit. Looking for the perfect spot in your outer hip. The hands do not have to be up. They could be on the foot, on the knee. They could be together in front of the chest. Where do we find the sweet spot in this moment today? We might sit a little lower, rising up, re-extending, and releasing, shifting it out. If you're using a couple of blocks, go ahead and grab them. You could also use the seat of a chair. So we'll place the blocks on the ground and let yourself come just halfway down. So the chest is not moving towards the thighs. Consider keeping that left foot rooted and stepping the right foot back. Now we may move our props a little further forward, particularly if they're low, and let that right leg rise and start to roll the right hip on top of the left. And we might just play with that for a moment. Bend the left knee, spin the right hip, right knee, front of the toes down. We might even keep going. We may spin the front of that right thigh to the left inner thigh. It's like a rising moon. The moon rises, we bend that left knee, and we roll that right thigh towards left inner thigh. So next time that leg rises, we might press out through the heel. We might slide the right hand onto the right hip. And perhaps the arm rises, top arm. Let's carefully release the arm, step that right foot down, and send the left leg back. So we can start with the foot low, play with lifting the leg a little higher. We might need to move the right hand wider to the right to find that balance point as we roll that outer left leg, outer left hip up towards the ceiling. Bending the right knee a little, spinning that left inner thigh towards right inner thigh. And then let that leg roll back up. Let that left hip roll higher than the right. And then roll it back down. So next time that left hip rises, get active, really active through that left foot, and maybe the left arm rises as well. We'll carefully bring the arm back down, square the chest to the ground, spin in front of that left thigh, left hip down, stepping that left foot down, shifting out anything that needs it. So let's take a moment, land the right foot, and reach the left foot back. Bring your blocks, your hands a little further forward, and let the left leg rise. This time, keep the left hand down, shift the weight to the left, and the right hand might come onto the right hip. And we may be turning, twisting the torso over to the right. Feel free to unlock that right knee, put more bend in that right knee. You might work it closer to straight. We might be reaching the right fingertips up in the air. Can be a lot in that standing hip. Let that right hand come down, releasing left foot. Let's come right into the second side. So step the right foot back. We might keep bending the left knee. We might want to move our hands a little further forward. Let that right leg rise. The right hand is the hand that stays down. We're turning, twisting the belly button, the heart to the left arm may rise. You can keep bending left knee, left leg may be working closer to straight. Right toes are pointing down towards the floor. And carefully unwinding the twist, release the foot, shift out anything that needs it. And consider dropping down onto that left shin and navigating the right foot a little further back. Please feel free to bend the right knee if that's a better variation for you right now. We might drop the elbows to the floor or onto blocks. We might find a little rock, a little shift side to side, getting into that left outer leg a little more. We may be pointing the right foot. Perhaps the heel toe on that left little toe side of the foot to bring the shin, the left shin, a little further forward or back. Shifting over to the left, let's bring that right foot forward and around and left leg back. So maybe we're keeping bend in left knee, or maybe we're navigating that left leg closer to straight, closer to midline. We may be finding those little shifts, those little rocks side to side. We may be finding a spot where we can pause and hold. And perhaps we're heel toeing that right foot a little further forward or a little further back as needed. And perhaps shifting to the right so that we can bend that left knee, drawing that left knee in. And just finding a seat and checking in with your knees. So if the hips, if the knees are at all sensitive, maybe the variation on the back is the preferred variation, and we'll try that first. So we may bring ourselves down onto back body and bring the left thigh on top of the right thigh. And if even this feels like it's not quite right for your knees, you can always return to that figure 4 position. We might be hugging both thighs into the chest, but letting the feet go wide. So the left toes point left, right toes to the right. We might hold on to the ankles, the little toe sides of the feet. We may draw the toes up towards the knees. So this is tipped cow pose. And this is one variation. So we'll explore 2, and that is not the longest hold. We can return to it in a moment. So let's just check in with the other side. Unwind the legs and recross with right thigh on top of left. And we may be hugging the thighs into the chest, widen the feet, draw the toes back. And you might be choosing that bind. You might be holding on to the shins, the little toe sides of the feet. So please know that you can stay here. You can stay on your back. If you're choosing to add in a little more load, it'll be more load on those knees and those outer thighs. We'll unwind the legs and we'll tip to one side. And you might opt to sit on a block, at least for starters. So we might sit on a block and take the right knee on top of the left. Usually we need to tip forward to nestle the right knee on top of the left and then sit on back. We can stay on the block or whatever prop you might be sitting on. We might sit on the floor between the heels. We don't want to feel like we're stretching the knees though. Feeling this in the glutes, the outer thighs, the outer hips for sure. And again, you can repeat this on your back. You do not have to do this sitting up. We might lean in, tip in. Now, if this all feels pretty good, the body isn't bracing and tensing, we might add the arms in. So if you have your right leg on top, we might hold on to the left elbow with the right hand and tip the head back and lean in. So that's one possible arm variation. We might extend the right arm out to the right, palm back, bend the elbow, so a funny arm swing there, and let the back of the hand come onto the back. Now you might be grabbing your top in 2 places or using a towel, a strap. You might be linking your fingers. And we may tip back in. Now you can always back off the arm variation. Maybe it's preferable to hold the elbow or just hold the toes. And then we'll gradually think about rising up and trading sides. So maybe we came off the block, but we want to put it back into place for the second side, or perhaps we're just crossing the legs the other way, tipping forward, nestling that left knee on top of the right. And we may stay more upright, or perhaps we're inviting a little more forward bend, and we can stop here. We might decide to hold on to the right elbow with the left hand. We may expand the left arm, palm forward, down and back, elbow bending, back of the hand onto the back. Grab your top or link your fingers with or without forward bend. So if we went for that deeper forward bend, we'll slowly rise up, unwinding the arms. If we have an arm bind, unwinding the legs. Give the legs a little wiggle, a little shift side to side. We might be feeling it a lot in those outer hips. If you're already on your back, please stay there. We'll make our way down onto back body with the knees bent and robot arms. So fingertips point up, palms face in, shoulders hug down. Let the hips rise, reaching forward through the knees. And exhale, releasing down. Consider grabbing a block and putting the block between the inner thighs. Let the hips rise. We might need to heel toe the right foot in towards midline. Shift the weight into that right foot and extend the left leg up. So we're reaching that left leg long. We're holding on to the block. Put the left foot down. Reach the right leg long. Try to keep the hips level. Releasing right foot down, let the hips land. Perhaps feet heel toe wide. And let's heel toe those feet back in. And we'll try that one more time, starting on the opposite side. So the hips will rise. The weight shifts into the left foot, so the right foot can rise. So make sure this is your second side you're starting with. Let the right foot land, shifting, second leg rising, hugging in towards midline, hold the block, try to keep the hips level, landing both feet, land the hips, put the block off to the side, feet wide, knees tipping in. And take your time, reach out, find that block, give the hips a little rock. When you feel ready, hips rise, plugging a block under the hips on the low or perhaps the medium setting. We may lift the knees over the hips. We may reach the feet up in the air. Make sure you feel balanced. If we go too high, it may feel precarious. So we're holding for 10 to 15 breath cycles. After that final breath cycle, let the knees bend, let the soles of the feet come to the ground. Let the hips hover, slide the hips to the left, let them release. We may be rolling the knees over to the right for a very gentle supine twist, perhaps expanding the left arm, perhaps turning the chin to the left. Bringing the knees back to center, give the legs a little rock, let the knees fall to the second side. That right arm may be expanding. If it feels best for the shoulder to keep bend in the elbow, please do so. And taking your time to rock it back to center. Feet wide, knees tipping in, maybe sliding a cushion or a chair seat underneath the calves. Or perhaps letting the legs slide long across the floor. Give the legs a rock. Let the hands rest. Let the eyes rest. You're welcome to rest here as long as you like. The breath may deepen. We may be returning small movement to fingers, to toes. We may be pressing down through the feet and reaching up through the arms. And exhale, releasing. We may slide each foot in, give the hips a little rock, rolling to rest on one side. And when you feel ready at your own pace, returning to a seat. Eyes at rest. Rubbing the hands together. Placing a hand to the belly, a hand to the heart. Deep inhale. And releasing. Sealing our practice with sound. You are welcome to join me with the sound Om. You are welcome to hum or sing any sound that vibrates for you. Deep inhale through the nose. Om. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this practice. Please let me know if anyone has any questions. I'll get a lot closer so I can see.